Hey, what's up? So I'm doing my first live stream here. I don't know what I'm really doing, but I gotta start my Anchor podcast also. So I'm doing a podcast today because I'm raising money for. So my son Tucker got diagnosed with leukemia back in 2018, October, and so our family went through a pretty tough time, especially for Tucker. To see a little kid that's got to go through that is never easy. It's always very difficult to see a kid or anybody have to go through a struggle like that. And so I decided I've been doing all these crazy runs. So ever since Tucker got diagnosed with cancer, I got into running. That's kind of how I channeled my frustration, I guess. And so I started to run, did like a half marathon. Last year I did a 50-mile race. And I've kind of worked my way into like these ultra marathons. So I'm doing a 100-mile race in Miami, and I decided to go to the Children's Hospital and pick a family to run for, just because it felt like the right thing to do. And so I went and talked to the front desk and just said, "This is my plan. I'm going to be doing 100 miles. I just want to raise money. Is there a family that you could think of?" And so because of HIPAA, privacy, and like all that, you have to go through like a foundation. So I teamed up with this Caruso Foundation, this guy, Jerry, who's raised funds for 1,100 families so far. And then they suggested I meet with Maryann. And so I met with her this past week, and she kind of told me her story. And Damien is the little boy. He's an 8-year-old that just got diagnosed with cancer. But story is pretty sad. It's like there's never like a really happy I got cancer story, obviously. But this one, so Maryann, she is Damien's grandmother. And back in 2014, her daughter, who has 3 children, she got in a car accident and passed away. And then, so the 3 kids, the dad is really nowhere to be found. And so Maryann had to start taking care of these kids. And then, and that's a lot of work to take on 3 kids. I know a lot of people do that nowadays. But then Damien, so Damien didn't really have a mom in his life. And so he just had his dad. And he got checked in a children's hospital because he was going kind of through the same things like Tucker went through, like leg pains. The doctors all thought it was growing pains, and it turned out to be leukemia. And so he got checked into children's hospital, had to get life flighted there. And I guess the dad was just going through it. And while the son was checked in, he left the hospital and something ended up happening, and he ended up basically passing away, lost his life. And so Damien's now in the hospital with leukemia, doesn't have a dad, has just lost his dad. And now Maryann is now responsible for Damien. And like, you can imagine how much that is to take on all at once. And like, you're working, you have a job. We just had this COVID happen. Like, life has been crazy enough. And then you basically, like, you add all this stress of like just taking a kid in and having to care for a kid is a lot, but then also having to run back and forth from Pueblo. They live in Pueblo, from Pueblo all the way down to like Colorado Springs, but then also all the way to Denver. And so it makes it almost impossible to keep a job. So Maryann is no longer able to work. And so she's like collecting a little bit of money. But that's why I decided to run for this family, because she's just stepping up to the plate. She's doing what she can to help these kids. And she has a really positive attitude. Like, we went to her house. I got a picture. If you go to my social media, it's just, I think it's Tyler_James_Griffith on Instagram. But I put a picture up of Maryann, Damien, and myself, and then my son Tucker with Damien. And so you can kind of see them, but you could just see like she has this just this brightness to her. And Damien also, like they all just have these good attitudes. And it wasn't like why me, it wasn't this why us. Her attitude was, this was put on me, and so I have to basically, like, what do I do? Nothing. You move forward. And so my running this 100-mile race, because I did this 50-mile, and it's kind of the same concept. Like, you get to a point where you feel like you're exhausted, you don't really know if you can go anymore, but then if you want to get to the finish line, it's just one foot, then the other, then the other, then the other, then the other. You just keep on moving. And so when things get thrown your way, like your kid gets diagnosed with cancer, your wife, your husband, boyfriend, mom, dad, somebody gets sick, somebody dies, things get put into our laps, and sometimes we don't ask for them. I don't know why I have a lisp right now, but sometimes I just get a lisp, so just we'll just have to live with that. But yeah, sometimes in life you get things just pushed your way, and it doesn't seem fair. But then as you go through trials and as you see like things kind of play out, usually you see like the benefits. I was talking to this girl this last week, and we are talking about kind of like the butterfly effect, and how something very small and insignificant can happen in life, and it can seem like nothing. Like you meet somebody, you become friends with that person, and then from that person you meet somebody else, and then from there you meet somebody else. And like for me, is like if you trace back every little step back to like the root of everything, there's always a pretty cool story about how everything plays out. And so a lot of times with these families that go through something like having cancer or something tragic like this, um, while you're going through it, it's really hard to see on the other side of it. It's hard to see the positive and everything positive that's going to come from it. That was what was cool, is like my son Tucker got to come, Sophie, Austin, all three of my kids, and they got to talk to Damien. Tucker got to tell him like, yeah, it's not that bad, and you get to do this make a wish, and kind of give him hope. And now that Tucker's gotten through it, you can kind of see, as an adult looking at him, you can see like where he's grown, and maybe some of the things like the positives that have come from it. And then that's going to stretch really far into his future life. And so same thing's going to happen with Maryann, Damien, his family. But for right now, I just really excited about raising money for them. So all I'm doing is running this 100-mile race, and I just am having people donate $1 per mile that I finish. And so if you want to do $1 per mile, that would be $100, $2 per mile. If you do $2 per mile, that'd be $200. And then if you did $3 per mile, that'd be $300. And so if you did just you could do that, or there's a flat donation, and all the funds are going to all right, let's see here. It's the Caruso Family Foundation. Hang on. Caruso, Caruso Family Charities. And you have to click on business. It's on Venmo. And then that's where you can do like a flat donation. But I'm doing this race on September 25th. And then all of everything that I make is going to go to this family, and trying to pay a few months of their rent. And then if I have more, we'll roll it to the next family, and so on and so forth. So we cannot raise, there's not like a limit. We can raise $1 million and help out as many families as possible. But yeah, I just wanted to share a little bit about their story. I don't want to go too much into detail because I did talk to them. They did tell me that I could share the story, but I think once you hear it and once you can kind of relate to what they're going through a little bit, then it makes it easier to want to give. So hopefully you guys can help me out, send some money. And then if you just want to, you can message me, kingofcorona2020 @gmail.com. or that Instagram, you can just slip into my DMs, tell me what you want to donate, and then I'm keeping track on a sheet, and then I'll reach out after the race and collect the money. So this is a really special opportunity. I feel blessed to be part of it, and hopefully we can raise a good amount. So love you guys. Bye.